And this program that I'm going to talk about is something that I can't even begin to tell you how special it is to me. Part of the reason why is because this program that I'm about to tell you about is how I became an SMB Cloud Champ. And the reason why I absolutely champion it and love talking about it is because what I did is the exact same thing to try and get new leads for your business and try and engage with new people who you may not have met before as potential customers, and how to be able to actually grow your business in this new model. And before I start the presentation, I have to pay homage to Dave Waldrop. So Dave, can you stand up so everyone knows who you are? So the reason why Dave is so special is because this program that I'm going to talk about was created and launched here at SMB Nation, and Dave is the one behind it. And so, you know, it's grown and it's changed, and Dave is now part of Attached Apps, and they're all represented here today. And there was a session, and they have a booth and an amazing product, but he's also the champion of this particular program that I'm going to talk about. So thank you, Dave, for making this happen and for helping make me a cloud champ, and hopefully the rest of everyone else in the room. So as I start the presentation today, there are 1,177 influencer organizations out there. And I'll talk about what an influencer organization is. But they have access to 1 million businesses that are looking for us as partners to talk to them. Now, how many of us know 1 million businesses out there that we already deal with right now? Nobody? Okay. So that's part of this program that we're going to talk about today, and how you can get access to it. And I know every one of us is from a different area, so just to give you the U.S. breakout, this is what it looks like. So these organizations, or of that 1,177 organizations, the breakout is across the screen in how many there are in each region. And I'll give you ways that you can actually get access to those organizations throughout our time together today. But this is the general number of groups that you have in your region to be able to work with as of fiscal year Microsoft end, which is June of 2014. So in order to gain access, you have to get involved in something called Microsoft Community Connections. So how many of us are actually familiar with Microsoft Community Connections? Oh, good, good. Now, if I can just for the moment have all of you raise your hands for the guy who's now in charge of the program. And the reason why I say that is we're supposed to be excited about what we're going to hear. So can you all raise your hands and look excited for a second? 1, 2, 3. Great. I'll send it to him. So, so here's the reason why Microsoft Community Connections is so great. It's because it's a matchup. This is what they gave me. I'll show you the next slide, which is my interpretation. But this is what they gave me. It says, you know, there are organizations, the 1,100 that I mentioned, and then it's their customers, and it's you getting matched up with those different customers. So I'm going to skip out all of this stuff, and I'm just going to give you the chart. So here's the chart. The chart is, the purple one is you locate an influencer. And I'll talk about what the criteria is for an influencer. But you locate the influencer, you go onto the Microsoft website, which I'll walk you through today, and you register for an event, and then you target in front of the audience and talk about a Microsoft product and how great Microsoft products can be to try and help customers. They see you present, you become the trusted advisor, and that's how you grow your business. And that's actually what I did personally as a story to be able to tell you of how I became Cloud Champ. So, at a glance, in total, there were over 7,000 different events that Microsoft partners had. For example, there's a gentleman in the very back of the room, in the back row I'm eyeing right now, Bill Hull, and he's out on the West Coast, and myself and many other partners. But there were a total of 7,500 different events that were held to these 1,177 organizations, and Those 7,500 events actually targeted and were in front of 1 million customers. And then out of those 1 million customers, that's how we were able to grow all of our businesses. Now, what I'll also tell you is that whenever you sign up for an event with this organization identified, you get a kit. And that kit is going to give you different pieces in it. So one of them is going to be software, for example. You may get a raffle prize of Windows 8. You may get a raffle prize of Office 2013. You may get discount cards for between 5 to 10% off at Microsoft stores for people to be able to use. And there's usually 25 of those in one particular kit. And then you also get an opportunity to put your partner logo on different materials that they have in the kit online in the website. And then there's an email option, so you can actually send an email to the influencer organization so they can target their customer base on your behalf for the event. And it really becomes a great promotion because that organization looks great, you look great, and then as soon as they see you in front of the room and your raffle prize, that's what makes you the trusted advisor, and they come flock to you at the end of the session and say, can I get your business card? I'm on Google Apps right now. Can I get your business card right now? We are not sure what we're supposed to do. Can I get your business card right now? I have this IT service provider that doesn't tell me anything and I need you because they didn't tell me that. And that's how you're able to start to build your business and to grow, just by standing in front of the room and being a trusted advisor. So, how many of us, and there's no judgment, how many of us are shy and are afraid to stand in front of a group of people and talk? Please raise your hand because there's a reason why I'm asking. All right. So for those of you that are ready to tune out right now because you're never going to get in front of a group of people, here's my secret for you. You can do an online webcast. So then you're not in front of a group of people. Here's what else you can do. You can pre-record it through your internal usage rights with Link and make that available as an on-demand offering through the Microsoft Community Connections program. Then you can take all the time in the world. You can not have to worry about being in front of an audience. It's at a set date and time, and you're able to deliver it through that vehicle as well. So, are we still listening now even though we're afraid to stand in front of a room and talk? Is that a yes? Yes. Okay, good. All right. So one of the other things that I should mention are the types of influencer organizations. So how many of us are involved or belong to a chamber of commerce? Okay, so that's a good representation. How many of us are familiar with SCORE? That, believe it or not, is another organization we can work with. How many of us have kids in soccer programs or extracurricular activities where those organizations are nonprofit? Good, because those qualify too. How many of us are dealing with organizations that have an annual fundraiser every single year and they need raffle prizes as donations? Guess what? Those events qualify. So there's plenty of opportunities and ways to engage, and the basic premise that I can tell you is that if you know of a nonprofit or you work with a nonprofit currently or you are involved in a current nonprofit, all of those options are available for you to engage and work in events with and be able to start to build the customer base from. So as we continue, we're going to see why we should engage. And here's, I know a lot of us just know that Microsoft is number one. And in fact, when I saw that Microsoft was number one, I actually challenged the team that gave me that little Microsoft is number one and that's why you should do it. And I went back to them and I said, I want real numbers. I don't want Microsoft is number one. I want real hard data that supports that because I'm not standing in front of a group of people and just say that Microsoft is number one. So this is what I got. Statistically, there are different surveys that Microsoft does. Sometimes they're hired, sometimes they're not by Microsoft. But here's one of the things that I can tell you. Currently, 1 billion people use Microsoft Office today. And if you heard a presentation that I was involved with this morning, 2.4 billion people are on the internet, but 1 billion people actually use Microsoft Office in some way, shape, or form. Here's the other thing that I can tell you. When it comes to emerging markets, or when it comes to subject matter experts, or when it comes to small emerging businesses, studies are showing that 80% of those are using Microsoft Office. Generally speaking, the market share is about 80-ish% right now for using Microsoft Office. So that's what's statistically backing up the number one reason that people are using Microsoft. Now, here's some other facts that I can start to tell you. One of them is that early adopters of cloud services are 2 times better performing in their businesses than late adopters. It's just a hand-in-hand thing. They're ahead of the curve, and guess what? They're performing 2 times better. And if these companies were technology related, 95% of those were using Microsoft Office. Those are the numbers that are backing up the number one reason why people tend to use Microsoft in general. So, some of the reasons why this program is so great is because as we start to take a look at building a customer base, we have to form a relationship with them. And part of the reason why standing in front of a group of people is creating an instant relationship is because as you speak, they realize that you know something about this. You know something about the industry. You know something about the product base. You probably know more than what they've researched on the internet. And this gives you the ability to become that person, that trusted person that they immediately want to go to because they know you, they believe in you, and they want to work with you. And that's where you start to build that instant trust and that instant relationship with them as a knowledgeable person who can handhold them and walk them through the trials and the tribulations they have in their world of technology. So what you'll find on this slide is that there are 3 components to working with driving growth. One of them is going to be positioning your company as that one person that they're going to go to, end all be all when it comes to their technology needs. It's also going to immediately consider you a subject matter expert because you are standing there underneath that influencer group with the Microsoft branding of the event materials, your partner information attached to it, and they automatically want to consider and entrust you as a person who is knowledgeable and an expert on the subject. And the other component that it allows you to do is to strengthen your relationships with those organizations that you already have. So to give you a little bit of a quick example, I'm involved with a Chamber of Commerce, and it's in New York. It's the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. They're pretty influential in the New York area. They're the largest Chamber of Commerce, and there's plenty of them in New York. And they had a technology committee, and they had a relationship with Microsoft, but they really weren't doing that much with it. And so what we were able to do with the Community Connections program is start to give the audience members, by the way, they get 1 million hits on their website a year. Their audience subscriber base is 13,000. And they have plenty of members to go around that love attending the networking parties. But there was no real connection between the technology piece, the networking piece, and us as trusted advisors. So we created this little circle of partners that we rotate in and out. We have wine and cheese networking events, so it takes care of the networking piece that the members love. But then it also offers us a spotlight as a partner to be that trusted advisor. That is how I personally ended up getting my cloud division off the ground, and every single one of my cloud customers came from that MCC program. And you already heard I became Cloud Champ, so that's how the dots all connected. But it's building that relationship and giving a program to those influencer organizations or starting to get them engaged or finding out if they have a technology group within their organization, like a chamber of commerce or something like that, where you can start to add value and build those relationships together. And what you'll find is a quote here at the bottom from Bill Durham, and it says, just for those of us who cannot see it in the back of the room, I do not believe there is any traditional marketing method or strategy that could have accomplished this in such a short period of time. To give you an idea on my own personal perspective, I decided in March of one year to launch my cloud practice. I was SMB champ by December of that year. SMB champ at that time was 150 seats. Most of the organizations that I was working with from a customer base were solopreneurs. They were between 1 and 5 seats. And I was able to help cater to them because the traditional MSPs wouldn't even talk to them or give them a lifeline because it didn't fit their model of at least 10 seats. So I was actually able to help cater to them, give them a lifeline, and that's how I was able to grow my own cloud business. And that's just one example, and many do it different ways. But the point is, you get to find your own path and figure out what's going to be the best model and the best method for you to be able to drive and grow your business. So I'll skip over this one and just go to the results. So there, and again, I'll tell you a little bit of backstory. When I saw that 15% number, because I had two numbers that I went back to the team on, and I said, Microsoft being number one is not enough, I need details. The other one that I said that I needed details and I wouldn't show is 15% growth. I said, where is that number coming from? Because you can't tell me these partners are getting 15% growth without giving me data behind it. And they said, okay, fine, we'll give you the data. And this is what I'm giving you. So what they did was say, okay, let's see how the partners are doing before they started the MCC program. Let's see how they're starting to do after they're engaging in MCC events. And the bump came in the delta between the two with the 15%. So what you'll see here is it's based on partners that are selling cloud and hosting events. And then they did it one step further and they said, let's compare it to those that aren't doing anything as well. And the average was still the same at 15%. So that's why I'm telling you the 15% is a solid number to be able to go with for seeing updates and new results. So how to be able to engage. I'm going to start with this, but then I'm actually going to walk through a live demo because I have one for the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce that I actually have to register for. They're hounding me for a description of an event for October 29th. So I'll actually sign in to my credentials and then walk you through the event so you can actually see how it works in live. So right now you'll see the main page is showing up and it's starting out with how to engage. And bear with me just a moment as I flip over to the screen. And now we're able to see this is exactly what it looks like. So as I go in, and hopefully it's going to ask for my credentials, and now it's working. All right. So now my credentials are signed in. I'm at the Community Connections home, and I did put the link for you, but it's microsoftcommunityconnections.com. That's where you're able to go and start to register for this information. So we're going to see that there's Community Connections home, and it says register an event now. So when I click on this, it's going to open up a new screen, and it's going to say, tell us a little about yourself. And it's going to say, I either am the influencer organization or I'm a partner. And it's hard to see, but I'm actually going to choose the second one because I'm not the influencer organization. I'm actually a Microsoft partner, and I want to register my event. So now I'm going to go in, and I'm going to try and sign in again. Okay. And now I can create my event. So there's two things to keep in mind. There's the panel across the right that's telling you how many steps you have, and then there's the screen that we're in right now. And so I get to be able to have an actual title. So in this case, I'm going to go in, and I'm going to say Office 365, and I'll just leave it at that. And I can enter my description, I can enter a topic, but notice how it says name of association. And so this is where I can actually decide who I'm going to partner with. Now, for those of us that may not have an organization, you can actually leave that blank for now, and you can be matched up with an organization. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But for right now, I do know the organization, so I'm going to type it in. It's Manhattan, hopefully I can spell today, Chamber of Commerce, and their phone number. Yeah, they'll get it. I'll have to go back in and fix this after anyway. All right. All right, does your organization have small business owners? Yes, it does. I would like to make the event public. So here's what happens when you make the event public. You might get surprise people that are not part of that organization. So what happens is in the event public area is it becomes part of the main search engine, meaning that if someone, a customer, anybody's looking for events, they can actually look and see what the events are in their area, and this particular event would pop up. So if it's a closed registration, meaning that the influencer organization wants to manage absolutely everything and you're not allowed to add anybody because maybe they're charging for the event or something like that, you want to leave that as a no and leave it closed. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and say yes and make it open. How many attendees? I'll put 100. That's how many we usually have for these drinking events. And then it's true. They show up with the wine and cheese. So now I can go in and give my first name, my last name, and then I plug in where my address is. So I'm going to type in all of that information. And this is where the event kit is actually going to be shipped to. So I want to make sure to mention that because it doesn't have to be shipped to the influencer organization itself. It can actually be shipped to you, and you can bring it with you at that particular event. And it's funny because when I register a bunch of these at a time, I usually get so many of these packets all at one time, and the office calls me and says, your packets arrived again. Where do you want us to put them? Because there's so many, we don't have room. So now I go in and I finish up and I type in the rest of my information with my phone number, and then it says I can rebrand my event. And see how it says, do you need to add a custom logo? That's because if you want registration to happen through this web page, you can add your own logo to it. And usually it's added one time up front and it remembers. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll back up, and I'm going to say save and continue to the next step. And then it's going to say, okay, our next step is going to determine where this event is going to take place. And let's see if, oh, thank you. Test event. I'll go back and fix it later. All right. So, oh, great. Now it says topics are required, and the topics aren't even showing up. I love it. Hang on. Compatibility view. Let's see if this fixes it. I can't believe this is being recorded right now. I'm going to get in so much trouble. I know. All right. And select it. It's still running. This update's still running. Let's see if it'll let me move on. Nope. And select a topic is still not there. Okay, so let me just kind of talk you through, and I'll show you one of the events I filled out so you get the idea. So once you go in and you create your event with all of the initial information, the second step is to add the location. And adding the location will give you an option of being a web option where you can paste your URL link to wherever that is going to be at virtually, or it will allow you to plug in your physical address of where that's going to be as well. Sometimes we have events at the Microsoft Store. That's an opportunity for you to have the event at the Microsoft Store. The other thing that I'll mention to you is that you can, depending, not always, but there might be opportunities if you have a managed partner that you work with or a managed Microsoft person, they may be able to book a room for you at one of the Microsoft locations to have your event there as well. So just know those are additional opportunities. The store is a lot easier to align with. So how many of us have stores near where we are? Okay, good. So for those of us that aren't familiar with the program, there's a BDM, a business development manager at each store, and that would be the person that you would talk to about having an event at the store. So the next thing after the place is selecting the date. So you would select the date and you would be able to see the date and the times and all of that fun stuff. The other thing that I will mention to you is it does include a Bing map opportunity too. So it will allow you to be able to display the place in the web screen, and it will also allow you to be able to get directions as a user registering for the event, to be able to get those directions to wherever that location is as well. And then it's going to give you an added optional thing, added bells and whistles. So the bells and whistles, and this is important for you to know. How many of us are not marketing people? Good, because here's the way to help you. Microsoft, for free, will contact the registrants of the event for you on your behalf. And so it becomes a pre-qualification. So instead of you following up directly, it can be handed over to Microsoft Telesales to be able to follow up and pre-qualify them and give you the good leads. Here's the caveat. If you're dealing with an influencer organization that will not provide a registration list, because many will not for PII reasons, you can do a business card for the raffle. And if you have their business cards as a raffle and you can enter the information into a spreadsheet, then that can be uploaded as registrations into this, and then that is what the telesales people will use to call down as a follow-up to start helping you. So it saves you time and also allows Microsoft to do that marketing effort for you and that initial pre-sales effort for you to pre-qualify them and to be able to grow your business. So would that help you? Okay. And all of that is free and available just because you registered an event on here. So in the last part where it says add bells and whistles, that's the piece that it's going to ask you, is how you want to handle all of that particular piece of information. So I mentioned that I would show you what it looks like. So let me just go ahead and back to the main area here. And I'm going to go into my events. And when you go into events, there's something called Manage Events, and that's where you'll be able to see all of your different events. And hopefully this will come up soon. All right. And so as we go in, I can say Access and Manage Events. And it'll give me a list of all events that are drafts, all events that are canceled, all of my past events through the history of time that I've started working with this particular tool. And I hope to see it eventually. No. It's special today. Yeah, Bill. Sure. So I want to make sure, since we're on a recording, that everyone heard your comment, Bill, if that's okay first, before I answer that second piece. So, so Bill's comment was to purchase a card scanner. So that way, if you do have or are planning on utilizing this program, you can just scan the cards in and then be able to use it that way, which is a really great point, and thank you for that. Now, on your second piece and on your second question about, and just remind me again what that part is. Yep. Yep. So just to make sure everyone on the call heard it. So for pre-recording is, I'll tell you what I do personally. So for my own pre-recordings, I have them just hosted on the website, and then I just point the link directly to that. And then that's where they're able to go and actually play it and be able to use it. That's just one example. There are plenty of others, but ways that you can do it. Some people will have them available on YouTube and then point the link to that, but you just need a URL path to point them to. So hosted website, somewhere that you're comfortable with, is a viable solution for that. This just does not want to show you an event. Yeah, I'll try it again, but I think it's just hung up, period. Okay, so let's try it one more time and see if it'll go. Nope, it does not want to show you today. All right, well, as a worst case, I will have it open by the time the booth exhibits are there. And just as a quick follow-up to that, well, we'll see if this thing ever shows up and loads for you. There is an MCC booth, a Microsoft Community Connections booth. It is here today, and Abby and Kimberly are going to be there, as well as myself floating in and out of it. But here's the reason why I want you to know about that. Number one, if you have additional questions, they are there for you. Number two, they have printed materials that you can pick up and utilize as well. And number three, they have laptops already set up and signed in if you want to go and register a campaign. So you can actually do that on site today. There's one thing that I want to mention to you about the influencer organizations, though, because if you don't already have an affiliate, I said there's a way to get matched. And so one of the ways to match, and this trying to get it to work is not going to be so great, so let me go ahead into the Community Connections screen. And within Community Connections, there's something called Contact Us. And in Contact Us, there's a Select a Topic. And when you click on Select Topic, it says Find an Organization. And what this will do is plug in your name, your state, your email address, and a little blurb if you prefer. But what that will do is actually go to a central area, and that central area is out here in Seattle, by the way. And the woman who picks all of those messages up is named Piper, and she's such a sweetheart. And she takes all of those messages that comes in and sends them to each particular region, and then you'll get a phone call and start to talk through the different organizations that are available. So I want to make sure to give you that lifeline, because if you go by the MCC booth, they'll be able to let you fill in that form right on site as well. They can also take your business cards and match you up as well. If you just hand them your business card, you can bypass this form too, and then they will, on the back end, take care of it to try and match you up as well. One thing that I also want to tell you is that there are plenty of influencer organizations who do not currently have partners assigned. So I want to make sure to let you know that, because you might be affiliated with a Chamber of Commerce personally, but then there are other organizations in your area you may not even know about that are on that Microsoft list, and they might be able to partner you up and match you so that you can host an event through them too. So that's another reason why I want to make sure to tell you to go by that MCC booth today, Because if you give them your business card, that's another secret hint that they will do for you, is to look up those organizations and try and behind the scenes make a matchup for you too. So how many of us plan on doing an MCC event? Before you raise your hands, hold on. I want to take another photo because this one will be genuine. So how many of us plan on getting engaged, going by the booth, and doing an MCC event? Oh, Sandeep will be so happy. Thank you so much. All right, so I'll be by the booth. If you want to take a look at my login with my events, I'm going to set up a separate MiFi, and then that way I'll have access. But any other questions? If a user group, and just to make sure everyone on the call hears it, if it's a user group and they are qualified as a nonprofit, the answer could be yes. If they're a user group that's just meeting that don't have any formalization to it, that may not qualify. And there are specific guidelines that they can walk you through. But the quick answer is, if it's an organization that is not qualified as 501 status, that doesn't necessarily qualify for this program. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, Larry. Oh, can you have a Microsoft person co-present with you? Maybe. So here's what I can tell you. Through the MCC program, it's allowed. So the answer simply is yes. Getting a Microsoft person available to present with you is a whole nother question, right? So to give you an idea, there are 5 Microsoft people throughout the U.S. that are dedicated to helping match these organizations, the 1,177, with all of you as partners. That's their goal. But they are spread so thin because if you think about 5 people stretched across the U.S., that's a lot of ground to cover. Just physically, a lot of ground for them to cover. And their time is so precious and so limited. So getting one of those people to get engaged is hit or miss, and depending on schedule, if the timing's right, then they can try and make it. So to try and promise you something, I don't want to promise you just knowing the fact that they're spread so thin. But as getting a Microsoft person engaged and just having them in general, facilitate one of the sessions with you, it can definitely be included as part of MCC, just as an offering. Of course, the Microsoft person can be there. They just can't guarantee one for you, obviously. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. So I'll be around after if you have any questions. You already heard Harry mention that I will be around at lunch. So if you have any questions during that time as well, feel free to come see me. I'm happy to help you. Congratulations, and I send you best wishes on growing your business, and make sure to stop by the MCC booth and see Abby and Kimberly.